Hey, peace and love, everybody. This is your brother Garfield. I'm live. This is Wednesday, early afternoon Eastern time. I have on today as a special guest, Dr. Oya Maat. This sister here is a member of the Amin Ra squad. She's been a part of the community doing good work for a while. And I thought, not only as a Black woman, but for Women History Month, I think I want to bring somebody on who is, me, one of the best role models we have today in our community. How are you doing today, Dr. Maat?
I'm doing fine, Brother Garfield. I'm doing fine. It's an honor to be with you and to be with your listening audience today. So thank you so much for having me on, brother.
All right, cool. One of the first things I want to touch on is I saw your video where you connected in going back home. And I think a lot of people are fearful of that. And I think I don't know how many years I've been to the continent before, and to me, I went when I was very young. I don't have any memories. This was when I was a teenager. But one of the things nowadays for a lot of people in my circles, we're like, oh, we want to go back home. It sounds good. The talk is good, but we don't find people who we know. There's a lot of people doing it, by the way. African Americans are moving back to Ghana, to Cameroon, different areas. So what was it like for you to try to connect with Africa as far as where you're from?
Okay, so beautiful. Well, my journey started in 2013 when I received, it was May of 2013 when I received my results from African ancestry. So shout out to Dr. Rick Kittles and Dr. Gina Page. And I know you just recently had Dr. Gina Page on your platform. So I have to go back through there and check it out, Brother Garfield. But in May of 2013, I received, and I wish I would have known you were going to ask me this, because I would have had my results ready and to put on the screen and show the people. But in May, I received my results stating that I shared a 100% similarity score of mtDNA with the people of Cameroon, the Bamileke people of Cameroon. And so it wasn't 50%, 20%, 75%. I had a 100% similarity score regarding my mtDNA and the mtDNA found in the Bamileke people of Cameroon. So that was in 2013. And so I remember contacting Brother Ankh. Well, Brother Ankh and I actually got connected in 2014. But I remember when 2014 hit, I asked Brother Ankh to connect me with the Brother Bomani. He has a business called Africa for the Africans. And Brother Bomani and I for years had been talking about me coming to Africa, because my first stop was Ghana before I went to Cameroon. But anyway, so I was talking to him for years about taking a trip to Ghana with him. I didn't just want to go over there. I don't know anyone. So I didn't want to just go by myself or, with my family. I wanted to go with a person who's been going because they're familiar with the culture, the natives, the landmarks. And so we were talking for years, but I never went. I sat and I watched people like Brother Black Panther and his wife, Sister Alima Njai. They were going to Africa. They went to Kemet. Then they went to South Africa. They went to Senegal and Gambia. And so I'm watching people like them go. And I just finally built up the money and also the courage to go. Because initially I was apprehensive about the plane ride. I hate flying planes. I don't like being on planes for long periods of time. And I have family in California. And so I don't even like traveling from Baltimore to California, because the plane ride is about 4.5, 5 hours. So when the thought of being on a plane for 20 hours, 10 hours on this leg, 10 hours on another, I wasn't motivated about going, But again, people like Brother Black Panther and his wife, they were going. Baba Anthony T. Browder, he was taking trips to Kemet. You got Ashwar Kwesi and them taking trips to Kemet. And peace be upon her soul, Nana, Dr. Patricia Newton. She was running trips to Ghana and also to Kemet. And so again, finally in 2019, I called Brother Bomani. Well, 2018, I called Brother Bomani. I said, when is your next trip, brother, to Africa? He said, I'm going May of 2019. And he gave me his rates. He directed me to his website, Africa for the Africans. So I started looking at photos of previous trips, and I looked at his agenda and his itinerary. And so my son and I, Isaiah, We got on the plane, we got our passports, and yes, we did get vaccinated. Yes, we did take the yellow fever shot, and we had no issues, Brother Garfield. We took the yellow fever shot. We went to the doctors and got malaria pills that we had to take while we were there. Very safe about going. And there was some folks, oh, Dr. Maat, that's that white people stuff. You let them put that yellow fever. And I had to remind them, brother, look what happened to Geronimo Pratt when he moved over there. He ended up dying from malaria. And I believe was it Jacob Carruthers who went over there and ended up. So we gotta be, we gotta be smart here when we're traveling to the continent. We gotta be smart and understand that we're going into an environment where our immune system has not built up the antibodies to fight the pathogens in that particular environment. And so we got to understand that. So anyway, my son and I, we took the vaccine, we got the pills, we got our tickets, our passports. Well, I actually already had one. I got a passport for him. And we were on the plane in May. And I went to Ghana with Africa for the Africans. It was a beautiful experience for me, brother Garfield. Meeting the people, what I call drinking the culture and gaining cultural education, because a lot of us lack cultural education. But I had a wonderful time in Ghana. So then fast forward 2020, my family said, well, what do you want to do for your 40th birthday? So I'm in the 40 and over club now, Brother Garfield. So they said, what do you want to do for your 40th? So initially, I reached out to Baba Tony Browder, and I said, well, I want to go to Kemet. Are you going to be in Kemet in February? And he said, well, no, I don't think I'll be there around that time, but I can connect you with some people to make sure that you're good if you want to go to Kemet. And then that was in December of 2020. Around January, I said, you know what? I want to go home. I want to go to Cameroon. I'm going to take the trip to Cameroon instead of going to Kemet. And I do still plan on going to Kemet, by the way. But I said, I'm going to go into Cameroon. So I reached out to Prince Delayor, who is a prince of the Tika kingdom in Cameroon. And I was connected with him through Brother Netchaneb. Brother Netchaneb was doing some linguistics work for him and some other people in Cameroon. And so I remember Netchaneb hit me up. He said, Doc, I know a prince over there. And so he gave me the number. And I never called Prince Delayor. But I did decide to reach out to him at the beginning of January. And I called him. He answered the phone. And he said, sister, I usually don't answer phone call. I usually don't take calls from numbers that are not locked in my phone. He said, but something told me to answer your phone call. And so I told him what I wanted. I told him who I was and who I am, not who I was, but who I am and what I want. I want to come to Cameroon. I received my DNA results and I really want to come to Cameroon and do some things for the children there, visit some orphanages, present Meltrek, possibly do like a naming ceremony. And he said, well, you know what? He said, I planned on going on January the 10th and staying until February the 10th. He said, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to postpone my departure date so that I can be in Cameroon with you. And so I end up leaving on January the 28th. And I took my son Isaiah with me. I was going to take Harvey, but his passport didn't come back in time. So again, took Isaiah with me because I like when I experience certain things, I don't like to just come back and tell my family about it, or share videos and pictures. I like to have family, with me and at least give them, my children, cultural education. So anyway, I took Isaiah with me. We left on January the 28th. And it took about 2 days to get there because you lose 6 hours when you get to Cameroon. It's a 6-hour difference between East Coast time here and Cameroonian time. So we end up getting there like wee hours of the morning Saturday. And he took me around. I went to 6 different cities, Brother Garfield. We went there, like we were going nonstop, 6 different cities, restaurants, waterfalls. I went to Sacred Forest, which is where people do sacrifice and they commune with the ancestors. So I went there. I went to different palaces. I went to museums. I visited, an orphanage. And gave out food. I went to 3 different schools to present Meltrek. I mean, it was just a really beautiful experience. The highlight of my trip was my naming ceremony that took place on my birthday. And I live streamed it. Now, in the live stream family, if you go on YouTube and you go to my page, Dr. Oya Maat, Dr. Oya Edwa Maat, it was kind of choppy, Brother Garfield, because they have a lot of Wi-Fi issues in Cameroon. But people joined. It was a few people on there. They watched the ceremony. Shout out to the Masi Warriors. They were in the building. Brother Sean P. and Brother Kofi. They watched the ceremony and they gave me the name Maver Zingango, and that was the name that when they divined, they said the ancestors decided to give me that name, Maver Zingango. So that is how you pronounce it. It took me a long time, Brother Garfield, to get like the correct pronunciation of it. I kept saying it wrong, and they no sister. But it was just a beautiful experience. The people were very beautiful. The culture is phenomenal over there. It was just refreshing to get a break from this insane culture that we live in America. And when you travel abroad, the more you travel abroad, you'll realize that this culture that we experience and witness every day is insane. It's insane, Brother Garfield. Like when I was in Ghana and Cameroon, I posed the question. I said, what is the murder rate? And each time I got the same facial expression. The brothers looked at me, Brother Garfield.
What murder?
They said murder rate. They said, and I said, well, how many people? I asked the question when I was in Cape Coast in Ghana. I said, how many people live in Cape Coast? He said, a few million. I said, well, how many people die each year or get murdered? They said, well, you may hear about 1 or 2 murders a year. And I'm sitting here thinking about Baltimore and how you only have about 600,000 people in Baltimore and someone is murdered every day. It's on the news every day. And so even in Cameroon, when I was in Douala, which is like the French side of Cameroon, when I stayed there, my son and I, when we first flew into Cameroon, we flew into Douala. And we stayed there for a few days. But I asked the question again to the brothers over there, and they looked at me with the same look. They was like, murder rate. Like, oh, it's we don't kill each other over here. And so I'm not romanticizing Africa, because I know you might have some folks, Brother Garfield, who say, was Dr. Maat acting like they don't have their own issues? They do have a plethora of issues over there. They're dealing with neo-colonialism. And I saw that firsthand while I was in Cameroon, and a lot of their bilingual schools, they're not teaching their the indigenous languages. They teach English and they teach French, So, I mean, they have their issues, granted, but murdering each other is not an issue that they have in Cameroon. So that was my journey, Brother Garfield.
I love it, man. I think you let me ask you this though. This is a little bit off topic a little bit. Have you ever thought about running for politics?
Oh my gosh, Garfield, if my father heard you say that, he probably would give you a hug. He's been trying to get me into politics for, oh my gosh, because he was into politics heavy. He ran for a city councilman twice, like in the 80s. He lost, but he ran twice. And he, ever since then, as a little girl, he kept telling me, you should get into politics. You can get into politics. But I didn't know what politics was at the time when he kept saying, you should get into politics. Oh, what is politics? And now that I'm older, I realize that politics makes the world go round. Politics determines who gets what and when. And so it will behoove all of us to be involved in politics and also economics. But no, I'm not a politician, Brother Garfield. My father wants me to be. He's like, you need to get into politics. I'm not a politician. I'm an educator, and I'm not saying just be.
Back to my head.
Go ahead,
Today's a weird day for me. The reason why it's a weird day, today is actually my mother's birthday, my late great mom. And something about you, you remind me of my mom. My mom was a teacher. Community activist. You are just like my mom. And it just hit me. I'm here saying, wow, today's my mom's birthday. And look who we accidentally have on my mom's birthday. You see, that's crazy. And my mom was just like you. My mom was a teacher. She was a community activist. I mean, she was a church person. She helped build up the church schools in Jamaica. She was a legend, man. My mom had like 3 funerals. That's how much she was loved and respected by her teachers, her peers, and church folks. But moving on. Let's move on. I just had
No,
to.
that was beautiful. No, that was beautiful. I'm just like, I'm over here blushing if you can't tell, but I think that I thank you for sharing that,
Yeah.
with me, and that's what I would consider myself to be, like, an educator and a community activist, and I guess community activists are somehow involved in politics, but like being like a mayor or a city council woman, that's not my lane. But definitely being a community activist and working alongside politicians and continuing to educate is more so my lane. But I had no idea that your mom was into that she was an educator and that she was a community activist. So thank you
What I
so
love.
much. Thank you.
That's why I love history. My mom was a history teacher. She taught me a lot of stuff coming up as her last child. And she was a history teacher in Jamaica and a teacher here in America. She left and sent us to college. She moved here to send us to college and stuff. But yeah, she was a definitely a very good educator.
Uh,
Uh,
and you were right, because we weren't supposed to do the interview today. We were actually supposed to do the interview, because I know some people be like, "What does he mean by accidentally?" But we were supposed to do this interview on Sunday, and
mhm.
we rescheduled for today. And I just wanted to touch on someone's curiosity. They might say, "What do you mean by accident?" So
I use that term on purpose because people gonna be like, some people are spiritually inclined would say, "Hey, the energy led us."
oh, okay,
I
okay.
said accidentally on purpose. I'm trying to stay from the spookism, but I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Um, I have to ask you this. We were
Mhm.
talking before the show started, and you said you did two tests. You did the African American ancestry, you did 23andMe. And I asked you because you're from South, you are definitely a South Carolinian. Definitely. I would love to eat at your house too.
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
you throw down. But I asked you, did you ever find a Jamaica connection with your DNA or with your studies? As
Yes.
far as okay.
Yes, definitely. I took the 23andMe test. Well, I took the African ancestry test in 2013, and I believe it was maybe like 2018 or 2019 when I took the 23andMe test. And some people may say, well, if after you did African ancestry, why did you also do 23andMe? Well, what I love about African ancestry is that they provide you with your mitochondrial DNA sequence. I actually had my father take the clan
Right.
test to trace his Y chromosome. And my father shares a 100% similarity score with the Yoruba people. So I'm a Bamaliki mixed with Yoruba.
Ooh,
That's me. Yeah. So
beautiful,
that's,
beautiful, beautiful.
yes. And so, I mean, I wasn't surprised. I looked at my features, and when I got these results back, Brother Garfield, I just wasn't surprised. But so shout out to Brother Rick Kittles and Dr. Gina Page. They do provide you with your mitochondrial, DNA sequence, and they pinpoint the ethnicity that you share DNA with. And that's what I love about African ancestry. I still, however, took the 23andMe test because I love the breakdown that they give you, where they tell you like your percentage of sub-Saharan African, your
Mhm.
percentage of European, your percentage of Native American. And I had to call my father, and I was like, no, pops, great granddad, he was not a Blackfoot or Blackfoot or whatever that they thought he was. Cherokee Blackfoot. I was like, no, pops. I said, literally in my DNA, it says I have
Oh,
point,
man.
I had like 0.2% Native American DNA. So like that
Right.
myth, that destroyed the myth in my family that we got Indian in our family. Like that went out the door. I had 4% European blood in me, and I was happy that that number was so low, because the average African American has about
30,
15 to 20. It's 30.
30, yes.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I thought it was
30%.
about 15 to 20. So you said it's
Yeah,
about
15
30%
to 30%.
European.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. And
Yep.
so when I saw that it was 4%, I was excited. And so I think it was 94, 95% sub-Saharan African. And
Wow.
I was pumped up about that. So, and they also provide you with your haplogroup. They also provide you with like other connections. So I was able to see, I went back on, and I probably should log in real quick. I went back on and I looked, and it showed it had Jamaica underneath my profile, and it had it, you know what? You know what, brother God. It had Jamaica. And I said, what is Jamaica doing? And it had Jamaica in highlighted. So I mean, obviously, if I'm 94% sub-Saharan African and 79% West African, and all of us came from West Africa and brought, especially they took most of the people to the Caribbean anyway. So I wasn't surprised when I saw that I shared DNA with our brothers and sisters in Jamaica. So yes, I do see that in my DNA profile.
The reason why I brought that up, because I know in the 1700s, between like 1750 to the 1800s, like the beginning of the 1800s, the most of the slaves that came into North America came through the intercontinental trade. And most of them were literally from Jamaica. So you have plantation owners like Morris and Livingston. And then when you look at the Jamaican culture today, you see these names, like my last son's mom's name is Morris. You see Livingston in Brooklyn, because they control certain areas and that's how they connect. But at the end of the day, the intercontinental trade brought them over here, but they went mostly to South Carolina, and you see numbers bump a lot between 1750 and 1800. So that's why I actually brought it up, because you're from South Carolina.
Absolutely. And a lot of people don't know that, Brother Garfield, that I'm from Sumter County, South Carolina. I go down there at least once a year, once every other year, to connect with my family. And even when I was
Charlemagne the God, is that where he's from?
I don't know if he's from Sumter. I don't know if he's from Sumter or Florence or Charleston. I don't know.
He does an annual thing down there during Thanksgiving time where he gives back to the community. For some reason, Sumter is in my head. I don't know, because I hang out with Mo all the time in South Carolina. So maybe, and that's where Mo is not from there, but that's where she is today.
Okay. And I didn't know she was based in is she in Sumter, or she's just in South? What part of South?
She's in Columbia.
Oh, Columbia. That's not far. That's like 30 minutes. Maybe, I think.
The Oyotonia village. Have you been over there?
No, I've never been, but I do want to go. I never been. But what happened? Didn't it burn down or something about a few years ago? They had a bad fire over there.
They had a fire a few years ago. We went. Me and Sean actually went. Sean P. We went 4 years ago. We actually went there. We videotaped it. We showed it.
Okay, I need to check that out.
Yeah. But moving on. Go ahead. You were saying something about South Carolina.
Oh yeah, no. I wanted to just mention that I remember when I was in Cameroon, I had learned that that it's a place, and I didn't get a chance to go to this place. It's a slave port in Cameroon called Bimbia, and I was informed that that's where a lot of our ancestors who left Cameroon. In fact, I was told that like 142 boats at one point left from Bimbia, and they took our people. And when I say our people, I'm talking about the Tika and the Bamaliki, took a lot of our people to the Carolinas, to Alabama, to Mississippi. So a lot of people in the South, Alabama, Mississippi, North Carolina, and South Carolina, a lot of them, when they get there, if they go through African ancestry, their results will be their DNA will be traced back to Tika or the Bamaliki, because he was telling me that's where a lot of our people were brought to from Bimbia. And so I did get an opportunity to go to visit Bimbia while I was there, because in certain parts of Cameroon, you had the rebels who were fighting the government. And so it wasn't safe. And so I was unable to go there. I really wanted to go though, Brother Garfield, just like I went to the slave castles in Elmina and Cape Coast when I was in Ghana, but I didn't get a chance to go. But I'll be doing some studying on Bimbia, and hopefully next year when I take my family to Cameroon, because in 2020, I'm taking my mother home. I'm taking my auntie, my uncles, my cousin, all of my children. We're going to do a family trip to Cameroon 2022. And if there are some people who want to travel with me to Cameroon and my family in 2022, email me at dr.maat.msu@gmail.com. Okay, just so email me, say, hey, I heard on the Dagger show that, Dagger Squad show that you're going to Cameroon. I'd like to go with you, so that when I make the arrangements, I can send you all the information as well.
Okay. So wow, that would be nice. How long would you want the trip to be though?
2 weeks. And 2 weeks would include travel to and from the US. And so, you're going to lose like a couple of days in travel. So you'll probably be in Cameroon for like 10 days,
Right.
but that 2 weeks would include, at least travel and touring Cameroon.
Okay. All right. We're going to switch up a little bit and talk about proper methodology as far as the community on a whole and what the importance is as far as proper methodology. What do you feel? Because there's a lot of misconceptions as far as information over the years. I don't care which elder said it. I don't blame them for passing down information that today we don't agree with. I'm not even thinking about them. But what do you think? What do we need to do to show the importance of proper methodology? Because yesterday I did a whole rant on Sonnet. I don't know if you saw it.
No.
Went in on Jabari and some stuff.
Oh, what happened, Brother Garfield? I know that I know that there was. I think I got a notification. You were saying was Dr. Richard Carrier correct? And
that's on my channel. I'm talking on Sonnet. I did a live on Sonnet yesterday.
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
Yeah, where I talked about Brother Jabari crying, and the reason why I said that is because it seems like you don't have to respond to this. It seems like he's the only person that can't be corrected in the entire community, and he can't be wrong. So with Richard Carrier, he basically tried to play the race card that he called him a black supremacist and he called him a neo-pagan. So he's trying to imply that neo-pagan was like a bad word, a purgatory. And he was trying to say that he was called a black supremacist. But when I read the article to the people, he was saying that a lot of folks who practice neo-paganism sometimes, at times, are black supremacists or Afrocentrists. He never said Jabari was, but Jabari went on the ear and said, "Oh, he called me a black supremacist." But it took us because he didn't want us to read the article from a PhD white guy. And in the article, it showed how poor Jabari's methodology was. So I don't want to talk about Jabari at all.
No. We don't have to. I just wanted you to catch me up on what was happening.
Right. So basically, I mean, I addressed that and I gave 2 examples of poor methodology. Like, for example, the term Paris. Jabari teaches, and a lot of people in the Kemet community teach that the term Paris comes from ISIS. I know because I used to be a part of the community from 1991. I used to teach it too. So at the end of the day, I know now not to teach it because we know where the term Paris comes from. But at the end of the day, where is the methodology to support
that conclusion?
Support that, exactly.
And that's a lot of things. And so this is really, this is right up my alley, brother Garfield. I got slammed in the community when I came through and started talking about research methodology and questioning a lot of the content at that time that Brother Polite was putting out. The black woman is God, and telling black women that they can make babies by themselves and that they're capable of parthenogenesis and they can produce sperm with the bone marrow. So when I came on the scene and I was like, no, this is not proper research method. Where are you getting this stuff from? Oh, we getting it from Malachi Z. York. Well, what research methodology did Malachi Z. York read? I'm sorry, not read, but execute. And so it seems like it's really been an ongoing fight of just battling disinformation, not misinformation. And there's a difference between disinformation and misinformation, but it seems like it's been an ongoing battle against disinformation. And shout out to Brother Onkaket. Shout out to Brother Onkaket, who was on the battlefield long before I was, and who brought me on the battlefield, because they were the brothers. They weren't trying to let me on the battlefield, but he kicked in the door and he said, "You're going to give this sister a voice." And so shout out to Brother Onkaket. But when I came on the scene, I know that you all are already kind of engaged in the battle because you had the Hebrew Israelites pumping out the disinformation. And so I kind of just came in the battle and I said, so the issue is a lack of proper research, research methodology and what it is. And so you mind, Brother Garfield, if I share my screen?
No, you're good. You can share your screen.
Okay. So,
gentlemen, if you have any questions for Sister Dr. Maat, if you have a question Just put it in the chat, and I'll read it to the sister. All right, here you go. Your screen. Let me make it bigger. All right, there you go. You have the whole screen. Go ahead.
Okay, so you see my slides, Brother Garfield?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, cool. So you have information, disinformation, and misinformation. And Brother Garfield, let the people know that you didn't ask me to put up a presentation. Like, this is just on the fly. I already had this. Yeah,
they go assume anyway, but
yeah, they go
ask you to do this.
Yeah, not at all. So so you do have different types of these different categories. I don't want to say different types of information, but you have information, disinformation, misinformation, and malinformation. Okay, what we see in this, I guess, conscious community or online conscious community is a lot of misinformation and disinformation. So disinformation would be false information that is intended to mislead, especially propaganda issued by the government organization to rival power or media. We see a lot of disinformation. We also see a lot of misinformation, which is false and inaccurate information, which is deliberately intended to deceive. All right. So you talk about research, and before we even get into research methodology, which is my next slide, but you talked about research. And what I want people to understand, a lot of people don't understand what is the purpose of research. So I want to start there. All right. Understanding the purpose of research. And so research is a process to discover new information. So it kills me, Brother Garfield, and his community. Brothers, I've done research. This is my research. So what new information or new knowledge are you bringing to the table? Okay, again, research is a process to discover new information. And what I noticed, Brother Garfield, in this conscious community, there's a lot of regurgitated stuff. People keep, and I'm not saying that you can't quote the ancestors and the elders' work. I'm not saying that. But the question is, what new knowledge are you bringing to the table? You got people like Umar Johnson, who is repeating Jawanza I think it's Mkufu. I got to look on my bookshelf. Jawanza Mkufu. A lot of the stuff that Umar Johnson was kicking, that stuff, the elders put that stuff out in the 80s. And then people say, well, that's his research. Well, if that is his research, what new knowledge is he presenting? And if there's no new knowledge, then all we doing is a bunch of plagiarism. All that's happening is a bunch of plagiarism. And the stuff that they're plagiarism, a lot of that stuff, it wouldn't even hold under scrutiny. Okay. So anyway, it says in the Code of Federal Regulation pertaining to protection of human subjects, research is defined as a systematic investigation. I repeat, a systematic investigation, not a Google search, Brother Garfield. Brother Garfield, are you with me right now, brother? He must have stepped away.
Yeah, no, I'm here. I'm here, sis.
Yeah. So it's a systematic. Okay. I just wanted to make sure. So again, research is the process to discover new knowledge. So once you research something, what new knowledge are you bringing forth? And I'm not talking about something you didn't found from somewhere. What new knowledge are you bringing forth? All right. And then understanding that research is a systematic investigation. That's not a Google search. Don't tell me you Google something and this is your research. Okay. It's a systematic investigation, i.e., the gathering and analysis of information designed to develop or contribute to generalizable knowledge. Okay. The National Academy of Sciences state that the object of research is to extend human knowledge of the physical, biological, or social world beyond what is already known. So don't come back telling me about what these ancestors and elders, they did this, they did. Okay, let's take that and let's build on what they did. And if you're not building on what they did, I don't want to hear you. Okay. So it says research is different than other forms of discovering knowledge, like reading a book, because it uses a systematic, there goes that word again, a systematic process called the scientific method. And I'm not going to get into what the scientific method is. I mean, they teach you the scientific method in like the 6th or 7th grade. And so if you're not familiar with the scientific method, just do a quick Google search to find out what it is. But so typically, this is what I want you to take away from this slide, is that when you're researching, you're trying to discover new knowledge. You're trying to add to the body of knowledge that already exists, and you use a systematic approach. Okay, and that systematic process or approach is what we refer to as the scientific method. All right. And so this is typically, brother Garfield, what you follow when you're doing research. You begin with the hypothesis, right? And the hypothesis is a supposition or proposed explanation made on the basis of limited evidence as a starting point for further investigation. What I notice in this community, brother Garfield, is that people will present their hypothesis or hypotheses as if it's factual, or they will already take a position on something and work to prove that that position is true, instead of I guess trying to falsify the position that they took. All right. And so then after you start with this hypothesis or hypotheses, you conduct what is called a literature review. What is a literature review? It says it's surveys, or it's a survey of scholarly articles. Notice, brother Garfield, that I have scholarly written in red. Okay. Scholarly articles. So not aliens.com, article published on alienperiods.com, or, you know what I'm talking about, brother Garfield. They have these people say, yeah, I read this article. It was published on, scientists of, I don't know, whomever.com. That's not a scholarly article. So a literature review surveys scholarly articles, books, and other sources, for example, dissertations and conference proceedings relevant to a particular area of research. And the purpose is to offer an overview or significant literature published on the topic that you are interested in learning about. So then we have the research methodology. Notice again, it's a systematic process, scientific method utilized to prove or disprove the hypothesis. And again, brother Garfield, a lot of people in this community, they're not trying to disprove or falsify their hypothesis. What they're trying to do is prove that it's correct. Okay, so this is the position that I'm going to take, and I'm going to do all of the research to support, right, or to collaborate what I already think is true. And that's not how you perform research. Here it says evidence collected. The most important sources of data collection is qualitative research are interviews, observation, and review of documents. Okay, data collection and quantitative research are what we call experiment. Okay, and then you analyze, or you thoroughly examine the evidence you collected, and then you end with a conclusion, or you make an inference. So that is typically the process that you follow. I do want to go here and talk about scholarly. Okay, so when we say something is scholarly, family, we're saying that it says also referred to as academic or peer-reviewed or refereed. They're written by experts in a particular field and serve to keep others interested in that field up to date on the most recent research findings and news. What I notice in this community, brother Garfield, is that people put on as if their books and publications and articles are scholarly. But the question is, first of all, what qualifies you as as an expert in the particular field that you're speaking on? And secondly, has your work been peer reviewed? So those are the things that we should be asking. Those are the questions we should be asking, brother Garfield, when people come on and they present themselves as scholars and they say that I have the scholarly work that I'm presenting to the community. One, what makes you a scholar? So what makes you a daggone expert in this particular field? What are your qualifications? And then two, has your work been peer reviewed at all by actual experts in the field? And so that is what a scholarly article or books or is. So we got to understand what scholarly is. We also need to understand primary and secondary sources. What Brother Ankh and the Armor Raw Squad and all of us talk about is what's your source? What's your source? And Brother Ankh always says a pseudo will die at its source, right? What's your source? Because we like to deal with primary sources. Okay, and the primary source provides a firsthand testimony or direct evidence concerning the topic under investigation. They are created by witnesses or recorders who experience the events or conditions being documented. Often these sources are created at that time. I want to be clear, Brother Garfield. The sources are created at that time when the events or conditions are actually occurring. So not after the fact. Okay, that's the secondary sources where the information was created later by someone who did not experience the firsthand or participate in events or conditions that you're researching. So we need to understand, what scholarly sources is. And so then this pretty diagram, and I could probably post these slides, Brother Garfield, or email them to you so that you can give them to your audience. But understanding, the difference between scholarly, it says trade, news, or opinion, or what's just popular, and understanding the purpose for each of these things. So what is the purpose of something scholarly, or the news, or opinion, or popular, or trade? What are the cited sources? What should we expect from the authors? The type of language, of the appearance of the article, and the appearance of the journal, if applicable. So these are the different things we need to understand. And so we have to understand that with scholarly, you're more objective, okay? Because your purpose is to inform and report on the original research or experimentations to the rest of the scholarly world, okay? You're citing footnotes and bibliographies in your work. Typically, people who put out scholarly materials are scholars or researchers in the field or discipline. The language is usually technical, readers are assumed to have a similar scholarly background. So understand that versus somebody getting online, okay, popular. Look at this. Someone getting online to entertain you or persuade you. Okay. Someone, it says a not so hidden agenda is to sell products or services to you. People like that, they rarely include bibliographies in their work. They use a lot of simplistic language, and things of that nature. So, and this is the criteria right here, guys, for evaluating sources. And I'm going to end with this slide right here, Brother Garfield. So when you want to evaluate a source, right? When someone comes to you and they say, well, this is a fact, or this is whatever, and they say, well, this is my source. Well, when you're evaluating your sources, one, you want to ask yourself, well, who are the authors of this source? What are the author's credentials? Are the credentials that the authors have even relevant to the information provided in the source? Who published this source, right? Is the publisher an academic institution, scholarly, or professional organization? What is the purpose for publishing this source? The audience, okay? Who is the intended audience of this source? Is the language geared toward those with knowledge of a specific discipline, or just the general public, right? The content. Why is this information being provided, or the article being written? Are sources cited in this? Are there references to other writings? Are there references to other writings on this topic? Are there charts, graphs, tables, and bibliographies included? Are research claims documented, or conclusions based on evidence provided? How long is the source? Timeless. Is the date of the publication evident? Is currency of the information crucial to your research? And so I'm going to stop sharing at this time, Brother Garfield. But oops, I didn't cut my camera off. I didn't mean to stop my camera. Okay, I didn't mean to stop my screen. But yeah, and if we followed this, Brother Garfield, we would eliminate a lot of the misinformation and disinformation in the community if we just took time out to understand proper research methodology, which includes evaluating sources. So anyway, I know that I talked a lot, and I know that was a lot, but I already had that kind of.
What? Hey, Dr. Maya, this is what I say. If the other party is willing to actually listen, then there might be change. What if they don't want to listen to none of that? That's true. Have to be a willing partner. Because if I'm saying, this is what I deal with the Bible folks. So this is why, and we're going to have a conversation when it's over anyway, because I want to talk to you about marketing and strategizing, from a whole different perspective, because I think my book has over 20 chapters, and I think I address the most I can to, like, this is like a part 2 to Jonathan Owen's book. So it's a
Okay.
handbook for the Hebrew Israelite community, but it's also for the other people outside, so we could understand where they come from and who the Jews are and who they are today and so forth, and why they're doing what you're doing from a sociological, psychological point of view, the identity crisis, the whole thing. And this is why, one of the reasons why I wanted you on, because identity crisis to me is the number one problem we have in the African American community. People might say, well, it could be white supremacy. No, white supremacy is part of
The
the
cause, right?
crisis.
It's one of the cause. It's the
Exactly.
cause. Come
So
on, talk about it.
all related. You know, I was telling I was interviewing this white guy from Zimbabwe yesterday morning, Rob Burnett, and he admitted, he's like, I'm a third generation white guy living here. And you have the upper class living and the people who are ruling the country and the economics, and then you have the lower class and these people are suffering, so and so. And I said to him, hold up, that sounds like Jamaica. A lot of people don't know Jamaica was ruled by white people the whole time. Even the prime ministers was white. People don't even know that. So when people come and say, oh, you Jamaican, Garfield, you don't know what these people, I just happen to grow up in a lucky family. My dad owned 40 cabs and owned buses. So he was living the millionaire life. He was living the smart millionaire life, by the way, too, because he was the most secretive person in the world. You would think he's living in the projects with no shoes. That's just how he used to live and be proud of it. So you wouldn't even know he had a dime because he didn't trust nobody, not even his own wife he trusted. Sad to say. That man was something else. But the point I'm making is Jamaica was ruled by white people. The prime ministers was white. The culture was run by 28 families. Some of them are Sephardic Jews. Sean Paul, the artist, Henriquez, he used to go to the high school I went to. His family and them is descendants of Sephardic Jews who own slaves and all that stuff. So people think Jamaica is a bed of rose, and and it's the same thing. It's the same thing in all these African countries. But identity crisis is what's creeping in because of white supremacy, and it's killing us.
Absolutely. I wanted to hop in though, because I do agree with you when you said the identity crisis, and I know a lot of the elders and even ancestors called it. They said we have a fractured identity, you know, and it's true. And I hope that, and for the listening audience, if you haven't read The Falsification of Consciousness by Dr. Amos Wilson, please get that book, because that, you know, the falsification of our consciousness definitely led to the identity crisis that you see today. And so, you know, that's the root cause. You know, we're operating with a falsified consciousness, and there's a link, right, between consciousness and identity. And so please, family, if you have not read The Falsification of African Consciousness by Dr. Amos Wilson, please get the book. It's a brown book, thin book. Brother Garfield's only like 110 pages, 115 pages. So a really easy read, short read, but it's packed with a lot of information. And also, please get Blueprint for Black Power by Dr. Amos Wilson. He has an entire chapter, Brother Garfield, dedicated to consciousness and identity. So it's actually, I think it's two chapters. Chapter 4 is about consciousness and how our consciousness is weaponized against us and is used as a tool for power. And so he talks about that, and then he also talks about the crisis of identity. So Dr. Amos Wilson, I think out of all of our scholars, he was one of the best, who did a wonderful job in us understanding the different things, especially when dealing with the whole, you know, identity crisis. I also wanted to say, you mentioned Jamaica. And so remember, and I know a little bit of history. I'm not tight like you, Brother Garfield, because I'm not a native. I'm not from there. But I do remember reading. I remember back in the day, I was a huge Bob Marley fan, and I came across his documentaries, and I was keeping up with his family. And he had to do, I think it was a One Love concert back in the day, because the people were killing each other over the two white men who were running for prime minister. I think one of them, correct me if I'm wrong, Michael Manley. Was it Michael Manley?
You know, I'm laughing because me and Stupies was talking about this yesterday, and it was two white men. And Jamaicans don't get it. They just don't get it. These two white men, one was Michael Manley and one was Edward Siaga, who was a Syrian Persian white guy who went to school with George Bush Sr., who of course is was the head of the CIA before he became vice president in 1980. So people don't know the connections and how they would, I was telling a story yesterday how they stopped the food supplies from coming into the country so Seaga could win because they thought Jamaica was going to turn communist. People don't understand how wicked America is. At that time, the Jamaican dollar was worth more than the US dollar.
Wow, I didn't know that.
The
Wow.
Jamaican dollar was worth more than the US dollar. And then the World Bank and the US Bank came, which is the architects of white supremacy today. This is how they rule you, by making you broke, making you have debt to them. So what they do is they control your country by saying, since you owe us, it's a big credit card. It's like a worldwide credit card. That's what they are. And if you don't pay your bills on time, they tell you, okay, you're going to privatize your public service for electricity. Your water company is going to be privatized. They tell you how to run your country. So this is why we will not get under the yoke of white supremacy unless you start getting leaders like the guy in Venezuela who died of cancer. If you don't get leaders like him, you're going to remain under this. You're going to remain under white supremacy, and you can't. You see, that's why they have to run and come to America, because the opportunities in Jamaica is not about the economy in Jamaica anymore. It's about the killing. And it's the two sides killing like Bloods and Crips. You have the Green Party and the Orange Party. Certain parts in Jamaica you couldn't wear green, certain parts you couldn't wear orange, because it's political parties that use guns. It's totally different than the Democrats and the Republicans. So the party system is a Bloods and Crips systems, which is ridiculous. So that's why the Jamaicans leave in troves out of the country. Not too much because of the economy, because most of the Jamaicans, you have over 2 million Jamaicans in America, and all they do is send down billions of dollars every year to their family members. So that's not the issue. The issue is you got to wake up every morning, going to school, citing bullets. That's the issue. And that's the issue that Bob Marley at that party, when he tried to get the two parties to stop the violence, that's what it was all about. Because the US government gave one side guns and the other side was given guns by Cuba and Russia. So that little beef that they have internationally became local in Jamaica. That's why they had to get up and leave out of the country. A lot of people don't. So when I argue with FB and ADOS and you hear me getting pissed off on my timeline, it's because people don't understand America is the reason why they're leaving. It's the same country. So when we come here, I'm a different scenario. I was supposed to come here for college, but I decided to stay. I got my first son's mother pregnant. I'm like, I ain't going back home. I'm chilling, in 1994. So at the end of the day, a lot of people that come here, they don't come here because they don't have no money in Jamaica or whatever. They come because of the violence in their communities, which is orchestrated because of the US government. That's the hypocrisy. So when they run here because they rather live in the projects than living in Jamaica. So if people got to understand that. So that's why we're running away. But anyway, continue, sis. Let me ask you one last thing before and if you have more time, I'll just take some questions.
Did you go ahead before you ask? Definitely check the private chat. I just sent you something.
All right, cool.
Yeah, I just sent you a message. I was getting ready to text you. That's why I have your phone.
Well, we gonna talk about that. We definitely got to talk about that. Okay. Last question from me that I want to talk about. How do you feel about being a role model? Because I'm gonna, as soon as this is over, I'm sending this to my daughter, and you're making movies, you're doing projects, you're doing all type of different things, and I look upon you as like a rising star within the community, not rising as in popularity or rising to the occasion. I'm just saying rising as far as you're going to a higher level each time, and you're taking it to another step, another stage. So I'm feeling with you, with the Meltrek, the STEM programs, you being a teacher, teaching young men and young women every day of your life, you're educating. You have more influence than anybody I know personally that I could, because when I mean personally, I could hit you up and say, yo, what's up, Dr. Matt? You're good. I can't hit everybody up. So I'm just saying, for me and for the conscious community who see you, you are definitely a role model for young Black women. How do you feel about that moving forward?
Well, I mean, I think, Brother Garfield, we're all role models. So it's not like, oh, I'm a role model, I feel great. It's like all of us are role models, like you're a role model, whether you believe it or not. There are people who hit me up, Dr. Maat, can you put me in touch with Brother Garfield? Or I was watching Brother Garfield's show. I was listening to this brother and I'm watching this and I love his information. Ark is a role model. Mossy Warrior Clan, Kofi Pasai, Sean P, all of us who are out here doing the work and we're in this community. All of us are. And then you have good role models and bad role models, right? But all of us are role models because we all belong to a community, a family, a community, a society. So I guess it's not a thing of feeling, I don't know, Brother Garfield, like, oh, I feel great to be a role model, because I think that all of us are, role models and in, to some degree, right? We're all role models. And I think it's important, just when you know that we're all role models, making sure that we practice social responsibility. So knowing that you are teaching or you're in front of children or you're on YouTube and you have a voice, understanding social responsibility and how to move, Brother Garfield, if I'm making sense, how to move and to move in a way that you're sowing good seeds and not bad seeds, if that makes sense. It's like, if you know you're a role model and you're out here in the public eye. And I know that I know people right now that are like bashing Cardi B for her performance of WAP on the Grammys. And so you got some people are like, it's inappropriate. And then you got some people saying, well, cut the TV off. Your children shouldn't be watching anyway. And so you have people going back and forth. But I want to say this, and I brought her up for a reason. You're in the public eye. And so when you become a public figure, you definitely have, a responsibility to society. To me, and I can't say that this is because you have good role models, bad role models. For me, to be a good role model, you want to make sure that when you're in the public eye, that you're sowing good seeds. And so that's all I ever wanted to do. Am I perfect, Brother Garfield? Hell no. And I'm saying that right now. People say, oh, Dr. Maat, she cursing. Hell no. I'm far from a perfect person. I mean, if I wrote a book, some of you all be looking like, or they say if God wrote my tape, you all be sitting there, and so I've done things, good and bad. Right. But what I strive to do at this point in my life, because I'm in the second half of my life, Brother Garfield. I'm a 40-year-old woman at this point. And so what I'm striving to do with my life in the second half of my life is to be of good character, to contribute to my family, to contribute to my community. That's really my goals. The first half of my life, Brother Garfield, your sister was off the chain. Your sister was off the chain. Trust me, I was always in school because that was really big in my household. My mother, she's an educator. She's retired, but then she went back to work. And so getting my education was always something education was always preached in my household. So that wasn't the issue. The issue was when I got in the world and started hanging out with people and started doing my thing and just getting out here in the world, landed in some very, very ugly places. But even in landing in those ugly places, still I rise. So I say all that to say, Brother Garfield, that all of us are role models. I think it feels great to be viewed as a positive role model. I'll say that. So all of us are role models, but it feels good to be viewed as a positive role model. And I believe that when you're out here and you're in the public, again, you want to sow good seeds. You want to encourage people. You want to uplift people. You want to educate people. You want to help people, and that's what it's really about for me.
All right. You're doing some beautiful things with the Mel trick, because eventually I want my book to be a documentary like, and
let's do it.
I want to definitely commend you, because I'm definitely, if people want to say I'm copying you, I don't care. When you see good shit, you just get along with it, so at the end of the day, I always admired your whole Mel trick thing. I think you had one. You had asked me to be the voice on one. I don't know what happened. I guess it fell through.
No. We have it. We still we're still writing. We wrote the script. We wrote the script, and now we're creating like what they call the storyboard thumbnails for the script. And so we're really finished with the thumbnails. It's like a few scenes that we have to knock out. But I wanted you to be the griot. I was thinking about you and Brother Black Panther. The two of you, because he does a really good accent.
Okay.
African, West African English accent. And
Okay.
you have the Jamaican accent
Right.
that sort of sounds, if someone is not really paying attention, they may perceive it as the West African English accent.
Right.
So
Right.
I was thinking between you and Brother Black Panther, I was like, I
All
would
right.
want one of you all to play the griot, which is Kwaku, who takes the children back in time to learn about the origins of the Ma'afa. And so we do have this year, by the end of this year, we will be releasing our third installment of Meltrek, called Meltrek Episode 3, Exploring the Ma'afa, Part 1, The Arrival of the Portuguese. So we take children back in time to learn about how the transatlantic slave trade, or the Ma'afa, and we named it the Ma'afa in honor of Nana Marimba Ani. She first coined the term, I think, in the 90s, the Ma'afa Swahili word, which means great disaster. And a lot of people kind of fought her on that. But we wanted to honor her in some way. And I did speak with her. She's aware of the film. And so hopefully we're trying to get her to make an appearance at the beginning of the film. And so I'm hoping that she'll be able to do that for us. But the film will be released at the end of the year, because I think it's important for our children not to just know the feel good parts of our history, but to know our full history. And so that was really the purpose of Meltrek. Mel is short for melanin. Trek means journey. You're going on a journey to understand the history, culture, and accomplishments of melanated people. And so I began this project in the fall. Well, I had the idea in the fall of 2013, because I was sitting there watching my son, he was 3, almost 4 at the time. He was involved in what I call mindless media. And so I was on this journey to find, or my family, now it wasn't just me, but we were on this journey to find content that was educational, entertaining, but that also had cultural significance. And so the only thing that we found was Tell Me Who I Am. And if you look in the top right corner, that is the Tell Me Who I Am DVD beside the Meltrek DVDs. So shout out to Baba Daryl Grayson, Kid Positive, who produced this film. And he just recently digitally remastered the film. And so if you don't have that, family, in your possession, please grab Tell Me Who I Am by Kid Positive. But we found that and we watched it over and over and over again. And then I said, okay, well, what else can we give him that will teach him about our history, our culture, our accomplishments, something that shows our characters. So you see Black characters. So what can we show him? And so we didn't see much out there, Brother Garfield. And I'm an engineer by trade. And so engineers solve problems. And so at that point, I decided to become a content creator, because it's like, I'm an engineer. That's what I do for a living. So my family looked at me crazy when I said, well, I want to create animations. And they were like, well, how are you going to do that? You don't know how to draw. You don't know how to animate, And I said, well, I'm going to figure it out. And I figured it out by getting in touch with people who had those skills and those talents. And so in 2014, in October of 2014, we released our first installment of Meltrek Episode 1. And I want to go back through it, because at that time I was very some of the information in there, Brother Garfield, I would like to update. I'll just say that.
Which one? The second one?
The first one, because in the first one, I'm in there, we're like, you have more melanin than you. Well, no, all living things have melanin. You just have different types of melanin. So there are things like that that I would want to tweak in Meltrek Episode 1. But all in all, it's a really good film. And in 2017, we released Meltrek Episode 2, Exploring the Pre-Columbian Americas. And a lot of people in the community thought that I was saying that, or thought we in that film, they incorrectly assumed that we were saying that that Black people are that the Olmecs were African, or the Mayans and that. But that's not what we.
Yeah, a couple people came to me and said,
Brother Garfield, no, they didn't watch the film. Brother Garfield, they didn't watch the film. We never made the claim that the Olmecs were African and that the Mayans, Aztecs, and Incas, and everybody was African in Meltrek Episode 2. We absolutely didn't. What we did in Meltrek Episode 2 was that we let children know that these Native Americans are not as savage and barbaric as white people would make them seem. These people had, civilizations, they practiced science, they did math, they had, societies here prior to the arrival of Christopher Columbus, and when, what happened with Columbus and the boys came over, what they did to these Native American people. And so we just highlight the culture of Native American people. Now, we did in the film say that there was a possibility, because this is when I was on my Abu Bukhari tip, there was a possibility that West Africans may have made it here, but we presented it as a possibility, not as an absolute fact. So that was Meltrek
Oh,
episode
that's with the
2.
whole the Mali stuff, right?
Yeah, the Mali stuff. So we presented it and we used the word possibility. So we were very careful in that. That they, that's what they say, or these are the claims. And we even said that some historians claim or purport or believe. So we use language like that. We didn't present it like it's an absolute fact that these people came over. And so again, we're going to have Meltrek episode 3. That'll be released this fall. For each episode, Brother Garfield, we have developed not only a film, but we have a storybook to accompany the films. And we also have an activity book for each of the films. So so people get a film, they get a storybook, and they get an activity book. And the purpose of creating these supplementary materials was to ensure or to increase comprehension on the material that we presented in the films. And we also wanted to ensure that children retain the information. We didn't want it to be a thing, Brother Garfield, where they're just sitting there, they're watching the film, and it's like, oh, okay, so now you can watch the film, but now at nighttime, mommy and daddy, or the language is very simple depending on the child's reading level, but you can sit and now we can read a bedtime story, right? Or, after you watch the film, now you can do some activities, some coloring activities, maybe some crossword puzzles, maybe fill in the blank, maybe connect the dots, whatever, on the information that was presented in the film. Right now, Brother Garfield, and I haven't even announced this on my personal pages or even on YouTube. So this is the first time I'm talking about this.
Right.
We developed a curriculum for Meltrek episode 1. The curriculum has 4 assessments, over 6 weeks worth of lesson plans, and 100 or 256 learning activities. And this information is a curriculum that is going to be launched in the next month. It for digital access. It's digital, so people can literally get online, log in, and your child will have lessons, videos, activities, and all sorts of stuff, learning about West African history, culture, and accomplishments, right? And not even just West Africa. We talk about Kemet. We talk about the pyramids. We have a unit on math, the African the African origins of mathematics. We have a unit talking about the kings and the queens in West Africa and in East Africa. And so your child can literally log on and they'll be able to get access to all of this information. We already have a school in Baltimore City who is buying the curriculum from us. There's another school who wants us to do an after-school program. So eventually this is going to be in a lot of schools in Baltimore, and hopefully we could then branch outside of Baltimore. But the curriculum will be online. And so when it is available, Brother Garfield, I'll let you know so that you can let your listeners know.
You see if you can connect with Sister Monica, because there might be some government contracts in your area that you could probably win, where you could get actually monetary value for what you're providing. So she could probably guide you better than I can. But
okay, beautiful. Well, Brother Garfield, they're buying this curriculum. It ain't free.
Okay. Well,
yeah, the school system they're gonna buy this.
So the STEM programs, is that the STEM programs that you're developing, or you already have other separate STEM programs that you're working on?
Okay, so I just want to share my screen one more time.
Okay, hold on, let me get you up in here. All right, you are on the screen.
I'm on the screen. Good. So you're looking at family, a cyber, it's called Gen Cyber security camp at Morgan State University. I was working with the team. It's about 6 or 7 of us. And we wrote an 18 proposal in order to get $100,000, okay, in order to create a cybersecurity camp at Morgan. And so I'm pleased to announce that we did get the $100,000. This was a letter that was given to Dr. Michelle Cornegay, who is the PI on the grant. And so we were awarded the money. And so we will this summer, and hopefully, in summers to come, we will be offering a cybersecurity camp for females. Okay. It's called Females Are Cyber Stars. We call it FACTS Summer Program. It's a 2-week, we have 2 1-week sessions where we will be teaching young girls we will be teaching them cybersecurity concepts. They'll have hands-on activities, and there'll be a family engagement and practical real-world experience. And some people, Brother Garfield, they say, Dr. Maat, why are you all focusing on the females? It seems like, the males aren't being included. The reason why we're focusing on the females is because females, especially Black females, are underrepresented in in engineering, specifically electrical engineering. The electrical engineering is a male-dominated field. Of course, the Europeans are there, the Asians are there. I believe that Black people make up maybe 3 or 4% of electrical engineers. And then of that 3 or 4% is hardly any Black female electrical engineers. In fact, when I graduated in 2013 with my DEng in engineering, I think I was number 14 or 15 at that time, maybe, to receive it, and so there are not a lot of females in electrical engineering. And in fact, I teach at Morgan, and in a classroom, Brother Garfield, 20 students, you may have 1 or 2 females. You may have 1 or 2 Black females. And this is like throughout the program, no matter whose classroom you're in. And so, so our goal, Brother Garfield, is to just inspire young Black girls and to let them know that you can be an electrical engineer. I know it's male dominated, but you can do it. And so that's what we want to do. We want to increase and inspire, African American females participation in electrical engineering. And so this is one of our initiatives to do so.
All right. Hey, I want to say, let me see. We had a question about the pyramids, right? Mathematics and the pyramids. And you want to talk about that for 5 minutes? Or are you good?
I mean, I'm good. I did a whole 2-hour presentation on Sinetta's platform talking about the pyramids. I think it's called The Evolution of Mathematics and its Applications. So the person who has the question on the pyramids, they can just go and literally do a Google search or YouTube search and check out their presentation. And then if they have any questions after they watch it, feel free to email me at dr.maat.msu@gmail.com.
What does the name means from Cameroon? The Mavo de Cab Ngoye.
Yeah. Mavo Zingango. It's like Zing, but it's not. It's Zing. It's Zing, Diek. But Mavo Zingango, Queen Mother who investigates, studies, and travels the country in order to elevate her people. The king gave me that name. And the king gave me that name because he said, and I guess when I got to Cameroon, he had eyes on me because he knew what I was doing. And he said it at the naming ceremony. He said what they loved is that when I came to Cameroon, I wanted to see the children. He said she came to Cameroon and she wanted to see the children. She wanted to go to orphanage. She wanted to go show the Meltrek. She wanted to give out food, give away money. So they were very impressed at my desire to connect with the children, there. And so that's why they gave me the name.
All right, cool. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to leave it there for today. We've been on for probably like 1 hour and 15 minutes. I want to say thank you to Dr. Maat. I mean, it's a pleasure. I want you to put a date in your calendar, June 30th. I want you on here. That's my birthday.
Okay.
To have you on. I think it's a Tuesday. I'm planning to have a bunch of different scholars, Black and white. Just come on and, just have some fun, drop some knowledge and leave, or drop some knowledge and party, so that would be good.
Oh, I'm there.
We plan to do something in Georgia soon. So I'll definitely let you know. So you and, the whole squad will know, and, we could have a little fun.
How soon we talking, Brother Garfield?
Huh?
I said, how soon we talking in Georgia?
In Georgia, we probably do it in the summer.
Okay.
We'll do it in the summer. Yeah, we probably do a get together. Just a family get together. If we could get 50 to 100 people, that'd be fine. We probably hang out at a bookstore and stuff like that. All right. So thank you again. And,
no problem. Thank you for having me, Brother Garfield. I check out your platform. I watch what you're doing. I see you. I see you putting in work, Brother Garfield. And I do want to take this time out to give you your flowers while you can smell them. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you for the information that you keep putting out to our people. So keep edifying our people, Brother Garfield. And like I said, I need to go back, and I did watch the Richard Carrier, but I want to go back and watch your 20 for 20. I know in February you brought on different people to present different scholars, your 20 for 20 scholars. So I definitely want to.
Hey, Bruce Haynes, African-American PhD sociologist from UC Irvine in California. I would definitely, if you want to bring him on, that would be good. He has a book called Souls of Judaism. It's a work that's not promoted in the community, but it's a Black man that actually it's so, the work is just so great. It's unbelievable. He gives like a history of Black Judaism from a perspective of the Sephardic, having workers in the home and them converting to the religion, and a lot of them, you know, how they got freed, slaves got freed just for, you know, converting to Judaism. And he does a lot of good, he has a lot of good work within that book. So I don't know if
please connect me. Yeah, please connect me with him. Absolutely.
Number 4, I think, or number 5. And I think he definitely, I'm trying to get him on Sonetta, but I don't know how that's going right now. I don't know.
But please connect me with him. I would love to have a conversation with him.
I'm gonna let Miss Blackwell also know about you so that you guys could connect and you know, get her on, because what she did and with the George Stinney is unbelievable, man. And for her to be a African-American coroner, and she's doing some lovely work, you know.
Absolutely.
South Carolina. All right, man. So thank you so much. Hold on a second, because I'm going to talk to you off the air. But peace for everybody that's watching. We're going to be on in 1 hour. Rocky Lizard Brown, that's the name he uses, is going to do a presentation, dare I say, on Haile Selassie. Wow. Make sure you got your security, brother. That's all I can say. All right. Peace and love, family. We out of here. Hold on. Let me play this outro here. Wow.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the great Dagger Squad.
We have no connection to that region. We're not those people. We never were those people. Stop living a lie.
Wow.
So why are we playing this game?
Dagger Squad.
So you're going to get this work.
Ladies and gentlemen, we need to get to the root of it.
Come on, bro. Stop it. Religion, of course, is my number 1 topic. I'm a specialty when it comes to religion, especially the biblical texts. Check out Sister Monica every Wednesday, the Urban Economic Empowerment Program. I'm on the Dagger Squad YouTube channel. That book is the book that they use to enslave us and put us in the condition that we're in. If we're going to move forward, we got to put everything aside and walk without no labels.
This is Garfield talking.
I'll remember the name.
We coming for all of them. Come watch this for the scholarship.
Dagger Squad.
Garfield Dagger Squad.
Where the ultimate weapon is your mind.
This is why they don't want to sit with me. This is why they run. Genuine scholarship. I'm going in. I'm going to set the tone.
Dagger Squad.
Is there no one else?
You got your chance? Show and prove. Show and prove. Any more questions?
Is there no one else?
I'm here to free the minds of Black people.
I'll remember the name.
Dagger Squad.